family emergency, personal emergency. It's a very versatile tool. So I paid 57 grand for this. I paid 60 grand for this, essentially. And this is, I mean, it's essentially a damn golf cart, isn't it? You know? It's like, well, yeah, no wonder you had a personal emergency that required you to sell your car. You had a personal emergency where you realized you had 3 fucking IQ points. That would be an emergency for me, too. Convertible / donk. It's got a 350. Started to restore, then went in a different direction. Last year of the convertible. If you don't have the money, don't inquire. It's not for everybody. I don't know, man. I think that 18.9 is a little much for this. I mean, like, and what do you mean started to restore? You mean like you did the part of the restoration where you placed it into your driveway? And then like the remaining the remaining 700 hours of work you were unable to complete? Here's a good running vehicle. Is owned by a technical school for driver training. Runs and drives okay. No knock, no smoke. See pictures. No emails will be answered or replied to. If you're asking for a code, you'll be blocked. So it was a driver training car? And what were you trying to do? Kill him off young? Shit. Yeah, that's kind of rare. My dad is kind of looking for a new truck. My dad texted me like a weekend ago, and he's like, yeah, he really wants another small truck. He had that, I gave him a Datsun years ago, and he ran it till the engine seized up. And he wants something, he basically wants something like that, except running, you know? I don't know if he needs a Dodge Dakota. I don't think anybody needs a Dodge Dakota. A Sunfire or a Sunbird? Because the Sunbird is even rarer at this point. That's like the boxy 80s J-body, right? I remember our neighbors had a Sunbird. Yeah. Our neighbors had a Sunbird, and they were from up north. They were from like New Hampshire or some shit, Vermont. I don't know. And their complaint with that car was that it had like an 8-gallon fuel tank. And they were like, yeah, when we go back up to Vermont, we can't even hardly like get up to speed before we have to stop for gas. Which I was like, you guys are nuts. I have to pee every 3 fucking exits on the highway, you know? And plus, if I'm out driving, I'm going to be drinking coffee and soda, and like, I'm trying to have a good time out here, you know? Like, I'm going to be peeing a lot. 89 Ranger, 4-cylinder 5-speed. Maybe this is what Dad needs. 152. I just wish I hadn't sold that stupid S10 that I had. I sold that S10 at the exact wrong time. I thought about giving it to him. And the Datsun was dying at that time, but we didn't realize it. And I was like, oh, maybe I should give you this S10. It's a little bit newer than yours. He was like, no, Datsun's good. Just sell the S10. God damn it. No scammers, get a life. Read ad entirely. This car runs and drives great. Daily driven on the highway with no issues. Got 180 on it. Does this really only have 180? 186 on this? You got 186 on a 99 Camry V6? And you're telling me this is $1,800? Holy shit. Yeah, and that's what I've always said about 4.3s and like anything small block Chevy, anything, if it's Chevy, push rod, iron block, iron heads, that's what I've always said. Like, oil and coolant are just a suggestion. You could like a 3.8 V6. A 3.8 V6 is like essentially the same construction-wise of 4.3 in a lot of ways. It's a General Motors push rod, all iron construction, man. Like, everything will fall apart around that engine. Yes, coolant is just a suggestion. That's the thing, is like those that they'll blow intake gaskets, they'll blow coolant elbows, like they'll leak coolant and all this shit. But it's like, man, you could honestly like run that thing with like a half a gallon of Kool-Aid in the antifreeze system for probably 10 years. Who buys a brand new $50,000 car, goes in the dealership, signs all the paperwork, yes, thank you very much, here's my 50, 60 grand, and then like a few months later decides like, I'm just gonna fucking drop this thing on Craigslist in front of Food Depot on a Saturday. Why? Yeah, like you're putting the cart before the horse by making a Ford Ranger into a dually, right? Like, number one, anything that is large enough for you to need a dual rear axle to tow is going to weigh double what a Ford Ranger weighs, and therefore make this entire scheme just a non-starter, right? Like, number two, just, I mean, the thing, it's just not right, man. I mean, to be fair, at least he's not asking more, I guess. I don't know. And then you're saying it's four-wheel drive, and then you only have one picture, and also the picture's grainy, and then you have like zero. Yeah, you know, like I've said this before. Anytime somebody lists the drive axles in the stat boxes over here on the right, anytime somebody lists what kind of drive a car is, 100% of the time, just about, it's going to be wrong. If it's a rear-wheel drive car, 100% chance they call it front-wheel drive. If it's front-wheel drive, 100% chance they call it rear-wheel drive. If it's two-wheel drive, 100% chance they call it four-wheel drive. I don't know. Yeah, might drive. Yeah, this one's pronouns. Might drive. Look at that CRT. Look at that CRT. How does this really have doors on both sides? I didn't even know that existed. I'll be damned. Am I losing my mind, or is that not normal for a GM Express van? I gotta get my cousin on this. My cousin is like an Express van, what's the word? Mogul? Express van tycoon? Like, you know, why would they show the rusted out Leafs? I don't know. What are we looking at? I mean, are they rusted out? That's surface rust. It's surface rust. Well, it's heavy surface rust. AC Delco shock absorbers. But that distracts me. Had a HUD in a similar year. Pontiac van. Yup. I remember the Dustbuster vans. Yep. My aunt had a red Chevy Dustbuster van, and then our neighbors who we carpooled with had a white Pontiac version of the Dustbuster van. And like the dad of that family who had the white Pontiac one, he was a car guy. He had like a 1930s Ford and a Dodge truck. Like, he was a car guy. And I remember once that van was getting pretty old, I remember him like going on a boomer rant about how like that thing was pretty high tech and nobody appreciates it. Because it had rear air suspension or something. Hell, I don't know. Anyways, Cars Complete's been sitting for 12 years. That's a good long while. Tile in hand, engine turbo, turn freely, should run fine with a complete service. The good old should run fine with a complete service. It'll be perfect once you do everything to it that it needs. We're moving it as a project car, so it can't come to the new digs. Seats are from a different car, some rust around the battery tray, some minor dents and stuff. Georgia, blah, 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 blah. If I had time, $200, I would get it running again. But, Broseph, friend, I'm looking at your neighborhood, man, and Rosl's not cheap. And I'm gonna say, like, you have $200. If getting this car running was as simple as $200, man, don't try and bullshit me. Like, anybody looking at a Turbo Grand Prix is like knows a little bit about cars. Man, you're in like the McMansion district of Roswell. You've got a nicely stocked garage. You're moving ostensibly to an even bigger, better, newer house, and you're telling me you don't have $200 to get this thing running, or else you totally would. Like, it's not even about the car. It's like when people start doing story time, that's when I'm like, dude, can we not do the stories? Clearly you can see a new Mercedes coupe in one of the pics. Yeah. Yeah, right. Like, where are we seeing? And he's got like, that's some kind of newer Toyota SUV, which, like, you know, those are not cheap. Neighbors across the street have, what is that? Some kind of big Ford SUV. I guess that's a Mercedes. That's an Audi over there, isn't it? That coupe. Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. Is like, this is not the poorhouse. And you're gonna tell me if you only had $200, you could totally get this thing running, but you don't. So my loss is your gain. Like, dude, don't do the my loss is your gain thing with me. You know what I mean? 1998, 9 Honda Accord, 5-speed manual, $3,400. That's what you want with these. The only thing, these were like the perfect car. With one giant flaw, the automatic transmission. Oh, it's in a DX too. Look at those Mojave touring tires. Look at those Mojaves. These were like the greatest car. 3,400 bucks is a little bit much, but it is low mileage. But these were the greatest car. The only bad thing was the dang, what was it called? The automatic transmission. A DX too. That's rare. I bet it doesn't even have a tack. Oh no, it's got a tack. These were, oh, but it's got crank windows. Crank windows. Yeah, man. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. 3,500 bucks for this. Like, yes, it is. Yeah, it's fine. It's decent. Like, it's all original. 99 Accord, low mileage. I mean, hell. Yeah, no, you can't argue with 3,400 bucks for that. I agree. 2001 LS Saturn LS L300. Sure, it's got 35,000 miles on it. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? It's an auction vehicle. Like, it's literally at the auction as he's taking the pictures, which is annoying. But are you serious? Asking price 3,900 cash, no financing. So you're talking a 35,000 mile car. The front is mildly rearranged. Look, you can tell that that's clean though. You look at this car. Like, you can tell just by the way that it sits that it's low mileage because it like sits very level. Like, no one corner of the suspension is worn out. Yeah, the front's got some bangage, but that doesn't matter. It's got a V6. 35,000. Holy smoke. Look at the underside of this thing. This is a brand new car. That's a brand new car. Volvo 740. I feel like this has been for sale for a really long time. Maybe I'm making that up. But this, yeah, bought a daily driver to keep miles off my pickup, and I love to drive, but I want something that isn't so pretty. I'm just worried about the upkeep. Yeah, no. No. Yeah, like, and the entire neighborhood will disown me. Yeah. That's the thing is like, you can keep your grass cut all you want. As soon as you start getting into this shit. What kind of gas mileage do I think I get out of which body style? I mean, I guess this is basically the same body style. The 87 Caprice and the 80 Cadillac. What kind of mileage do I think they could get out of this? I mean, you know, here's the thing is like, since the latest, oh, the 70s Cadillacs, man, I don't know. What are those? Like close to 6,000 pounds? Man, I bet they could about double the mileage they used to get because those 70s Cadillacs with big blocks, I mean, anything with a big block GM engine, it gets 7, 8, 9 miles a gallon. Doesn't matter, city, highway, towing, unloaded, doesn't fucking matter. You're talking 8 miles a gallon. Period, end of story, all conditions, right? So like 70s Cadillacs, probably average about 8 miles a gallon. I'm willing to say I think you could double that easily with the same power. Turbo 4 with modern alloys? Oh, I don't know, man. Would you take a Turbo 4 in an old Cadillac? Because I would not. I would have to have 8-hole cylinders. You know, that's just part of like, to me, that's part of the whole thing. But I will say, well, yeah, but there's still, man, yeah, I know, but like, I still like V8s. I'll say this. I wouldn't want a turbo 4-cylinder in it. What I would want is a 5.3. And the argument that I always make for the 5.3 is, you have to understand, for years, ever since the Honda Ridgeline came out with a 3.5 liter V6. Okay, yeah, no, I know that. That sucks. I also hate that. I hate that too. I do hate the shutoff thing. But like, you can bypass that. I know it's easier said than done, but you can bypass it or shut it off or something. But yeah, no, that does suck. But I still like the 5.3. And also, what about like a 2005 or like a 2002 5.3? Like, that was honestly probably the glory days of the 5.3 because that was like, give me a 5.3 from just before the cylinder shutoff days. That's what I would want because like I always say as like a rule of thumb, the Honda Ridgeline, when it first came out, people were like, oh my God, it's a truck, but it's unibody, it's car-based, it's got a V6, it's front-wheel drive, it's gonna get 5 times the gas mileage of a big gas hog Chevy. Guess what? The EPA numbers of the Ridgeline and the Silverado were identical, down to the mile per gallon city and highway. They were identical when the Ridgeline came out. And it's like, wait a minute. So you're telling me I got to give up my full frame, a V8, like all, like the whole giant truck and like drive a fucking El Camino-ized hacksawed minivan to save how many miles per gallon? None? Like, okay, yeah, I think I'll take the V8. You know what I mean? One land yacht with wings and either a turbo 6 or a Glad Glad V8 or a diesel. I don't know about a diesel. I don't know about diesel. Like, to me, that's like a different vibe. Like, I will say, I'm with you in the sense that I'll say this. I would be very interested if somebody actually like did a nice, very clean, modern turbo 2-liter 4-cylinder swap on one of these. If somebody actually did that, I would be very interested to see the results and see what it was like and like look in the engine bay with that enormous amount of room. That all being said, if I was gonna own one, I would want 8 cylinders. But anyways, yeah. But what I was saying was, yeah, no, the EcoBoost. The EcoBoost is a reliability issue. But what I was saying was, yeah, no, I think the sweet man. So all that whole roundabout discussion was say, I think the 5.3 Chevy V8 from like 2005. To me, that's just like the ultimate engine in a lot of ways, to be honest. Like, but it's to me, it's like the sweet spot of power, reliability, and gas mileage. I bet if you got a good solid 5.3 under the hood of this vehicle right here, number one, miles per gallon would more than double, and number two, the power would increase probably. If it would at least stay the same, if not increase. You would have better drivability with fuel injection. You would have like everything would be good. You would still have a V8, still sound like a V8. That's my humble opinion, which I guess that's why LS swap has become a meme, but whatever.